Let's add some validation. What if I don't enter a valid email address, or I choose a username that's already taken? Right now, the form would submit just fine, which is lame. Try to submit a blank form right now. Whoa, we do have some validation. In fact, if I enter an invalid email address, we see another error. This is HTML5 validation. When I inspect a field, we see what's triggering it. First, each field has a required attribute, which tells an HTML5 compliant browser to throw an error if the field is left blank. Second, the input type equals email field tells the browser to expect a valid email address instead of any string. We got an input type equals email field because we're using the emailed field type in our form. But where are these required attributes coming from? To answer that, look at the third argument when adding a field, the options array. Every field type can be configured in different ways. For example, the repeated field has a type option. There are also a bunch of options that every field has, required being one of them. Set the required option on email to false and refresh. When we inspect, we see that the required attribute is gone. All fields have this option, and it's important to realize that it defaults to true. There are a lot more options available for each field type. The easiest way to learn about them is via the documentation. Remember the form field type reference page we saw earlier? Yep, it shows you all the field types and all of their options. You can also dig into the source code to find out what options are available. For the repeated type, there's a class called, well, repeated type. The set default options method shows you the options that are special to this type. Most of the global options are inherited from a class called form type. In here, you can see required and a few others. In its parent class, base type, we see a few more, like label and attr. We can use these to customize the label or add a class to the field form right inside the form class. When we refresh, we see these options working for us. HTML5 validation is nice, but not enough. We still need server-side validation. Also, you can't really customize how HTML5 validation looks or its messages easily. And finally, Symfony automatically defaults all fields to have the required attribute, which is kind of annoying. I recommend avoiding HTML5 validation entirely. To disable it, just add a noValidate attribute to your form tag. Refresh the form and try to submit empty. We get a huge error from the database, which proves that HTML5 validation is off. Now, let's add some server-side validation.